Mr. Sharpe, are you ready?
I was feeling the song. It's like I'm gonna write some bars to it. Like I'm gonna drop some beats. I feel like I'm so in the studio. Like check one. You ready? Dose. Hi everybody. Welcome. I'm back. My allergies have totally been taken over, so that's why I wasn't here last week. And as you can hear it all in my voice and everything, but I fought today to be here just for you guys. So I'm super excited to be here, and I'm even more excited that you guys have joined us today. We have a great guest today, and the topic I think is really relevant to nowadays and times. However, I have a question. So the intro music, there's a question asked.
What?
And the question is like, is it Mr. Sharpe or Officer Sharpe?
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Sharpe.
Right.
But it's only directed to you. So I don't understand how it's all about you, and there's no me nowhere in it.
Well, that's a good question. First of all,
Mm-hmm.
don't know whether to call you Derek or Doctor, and then sometimes too, because it's allergy season, you may not show up.
I mean,
I'm just saying.
Blame it on the pollen.
Oh my gosh.
So how was your weekend?
Oh man, my weekend was all right. I'm all about making friends. Making friends, and listen.
No new friends.
As you can see, I painted.
So that new friend painted?
No, I painted.
I wish you guys, we're going to have a big cookout before the end of summer. We're going to do it here at his mansion. And I want you guys to see that he is the slowest painter ever.
Mansion?
He's been painting this house for 2 years.
I'm never home. Never home. I'm always working. Always working.
He's always here.
What did you do this weekend?
I swam all weekend.
That's why you were sick.
Do you think so?
You know what? I think you got a sick time for this show. I'm just saying.
Winter ain't even here yet.
Well, yeah. Well,
So what I thought about is you can bring me onto the screen like you do all the guests. And if I'm not able to be here, I can be on my bed of affliction.
Mm-hmm.
And I can No.
Why?
You
will not broadcast from the Kitty Cat Lounge.
I mean, I got a piano.
Go play it.
That's at my house.
Okay.
I have that exact same piano in my front window.
Oh gosh. Well, listen. Hey, I'm glad everybody is here. This has been a trying day today. I'm trying to really find my mojo and my energy. A lot going on in our city. So, but I think at this point in time, I'm trying to stay optimistic about things and try to get ready to just, take this on. Sometimes you got challenges and you gotta push forward. And I think that's kind of what I see where our community is ready to do. So, we've had a lot of shootings and things in our city, and I feel like, we want to send our condolences to the families, and we just got to put an end to this. We got to put an end to it, and we got to make this place right. And the only way it's going to make it right is if we actually come on and actually, start doing something to make a change. So we just want to say hi to everybody. I see, oh man, we got Christina Spencer, Vicky, Sean, my high school classmate Lori.
Oh my God, you are not accepting a Grammy.
I was, and my daughter's on here too. I gotta say hi, boo. Hey, boo. Hi, Pinky. All right. So you ready to go on?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. So of course, I got to introduce our guest for this evening. Our guest is, she's just absolutely amazing. I don't think there's anything she can't do. Like, she's an attorney, an author. She's a motivational speaker, keynote speaker. Good gravy. The list goes on, So, I'm excited to have her on because one of the things that we want to talk about today, and I think it's one of the one thing that's just like, it's kind of almost like, it was almost taboo back in the day to talk about. Yeah, and it still is, because I think between mental health illness and in the Black community, people actually going to the doctor. It's like nobody wants to know, nobody wants to talk about it, this and that and other. You just kind of wish it away. And I think one of the biggest things we want to make sure that we have Corey Minor Smith on, so that she can talk to us about that, tell you about some of, just her experiences of dealing with this. And she's very knowledgeable on everything. So I would like to welcome Miss Corey Smith. How are you, sweetie?
Hi, I'm fine. How are you?
Okay. There you go. I was gonna say we couldn't hear you first. Okay.
It's a lag.
All right. So how's it going?
It's going, taking day by day, moment by moment. And I encourage other people to do the same, because otherwise we can be overwhelmed with life.
That's right. That's right. So let me get this correct. July. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put this out here. There's a lot of things, like I learn things as I go on, and I'm 21 years old. And I didn't know that July was Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that? Because I didn't know. There might be somebody out here that didn't know that.
I did.
Absolutely. There are days, weeks, and months that are recognized for different aspects of mental health. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. July is Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. Stress the importance of it, because in 2008, Congress passed recognition of Bebe Moore Campbell. She was a 3 times New York Times bestselling author, and she wrote about mental health in some of her books, like 72-Hour Hold. She also has a children's book, Sometimes My Mommy Gets Angry. And it is touching on and talking about mental health, which in the Black community is not talked about enough. And that was one of the things that she used her voice for, her celebrity status for, was to be an advocate for mental health. And she started the chapter of NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, in Los Angeles, in Compton, in the Black area, because she was going outside of her community to receive help and assistance. So Bebe Moore Campbell, and many of you who are around my age or older may remember a show called In the House. It starred LL Cool J and Debbie Allen.
Yeah.
Well, daughter on there, Maya Campbell, that is Bebe Moore Campbell's daughter, and she lives currently with severe mental illness. Some of you may have recently seen her in the news. She was recently arrested. So she has times where she's doing well and times that she's not doing well. And her mother is no longer living. So it's an important issue to talk about, and more importantly, to understand and know the services that are available in the community.
Right. So who was that one girl off of, remember Saved by the Bell?
Oh, yes. Lark Voorhees. Yes. She also is currently with severe mental illness as well, but she is in treatment, and her mother, works with her. She was recently on, I think, on Dr. Oz or Dr. Phil. I think it was Dr.
She
Phil.
was.
Yeah.
She was. Yeah. And people so a lot of times people think like, oh, because, I'm cute. They think because I'm cute or, this and that and the other. They don't think like they're immune to possible mental illness.
Yeah.
Mental illness can affect anybody, right?
Anybody. I mean, it doesn't matter your socioeconomic status, your gender, your geographic location, your religion. Even if you have access to healthcare, it makes it worse if you don't have access to medical care. But no, it does not discriminate, and it can impact you at any given time. There are some statistics in regards to the age range that a person could be impacted by mental health, but it's important for us to know, especially as parents, like when you take your child to have his or her physical, you should also ask the doctor to do a mental health assessment. It doesn't mean that you think that your child has a mental illness or anything like that. But our children are going through a lot that they may not tell us when they come home, when they were going to school. So like bullying, you've heard in the news of our even young Black children who have committed suicide because they have been subjected to bullying each and every day at school because of their hair, because of their skin color, or whatever the case may be. And your child may not talk to you about that. Mm-hmm. So along with the physical exams, you can also ask for a mental health exam as a proactive approach, not waiting for your son or daughter to show signs that something is wrong.
So I think that given our state that we're in at this moment, I check myself every day because, being that COVID-19 is here and we're limited with what we can and cannot do, we can find ourselves falling into a state of depression. So what advice do you give us how do we check ourselves to make sure that we're not falling into a slump?
Absolutely. And most anything can cause us to feel some kind of way, right? So we do need to check that. If you find yourself not eating, not sleeping, or sleeping too much, withdrawing from your friends. I know we can't necessarily see each other in person the way we would like to, or touch and just have the interaction of a hug. But if you are finding yourself withdrawing even more, you may want to talk to someone. So then you have the issue of, I don't want nobody to know that I'm, calling or going to see a therapist. Well, there are 1-800 numbers that are confidential 24 hours a day, 7 days a week that you can call and talk to someone. You can even text 741-741. You can text NAMI to 741-741 and speak to someone or text someone right then and there, all confidential, 24 hours a day. And if you're like me and some of the situations I've been in, there have been like in the middle of the night hours, right? When your friends may not be up, you can pray and whatever other source of inspiration. But if you need to talk to somebody, you can call a 1-800 number, and which I can give also at the end of the show. And maybe you could tag it in your notes for the show. But I have recommendations. And also, I just finished this I call it great, but I was so excited to finish it. And it's a resource guide. I've been dealing with mental health and aspects of mental health, behavioral health care for over 30 years in trying to navigate through it with my family on behalf of my mother. And through that, I am trying to help other families and friends to kind of cut the path, because something can happen and you don't even know who to call. So I created this guide that just gives like apps and blogs and organizations locally, nationally, and even globally that help individuals provide services, provide inspiration for individuals who are dealing with mental health. And people can go right to my website, click on the banner and enter their email address, and it'll be sent right to them. And it has all of the phone numbers and text that I'm talking about.
Love it.
So we, always encourage people, like if you're watching right now, please, put in questions that you may have for Corey. Do not ask Derek because listen,
I've actually been good today.
You will be all listen.
I am a doctor.
I don't come to Derek. I don't go to Derek for any advice.
And you need to put my number in that resource book.
One more time.
You can put my number in the resource book as being a doctor.
Yes, sir. I'll put you in the revised version.
Thank you. Thank you.
When I was growing up, I think like a lot of children don't understand mental health. Like, so, I'm kind of like almost embarrassed to talk about it. But at the same time, I realized I was a kid. I didn't know any better. But, we had this gentleman who lived down our street. And, he was an older gentleman. He was in the war and he was just like, he was always constant in war mode. Right. And, as kids, we thought it was fun because he would chase you. And we thought it was fun until he caught one of our friends and he didn't do anything to him. But it was just kind of like, and then realizing as being a kid, because we don't talk about that. We didn't talk about that as youth. So now, as as I'm older, and I realize, like, man, he had a mental disorder, and you feel bad about it then. But again, we were kids, and that was like the fun thing to do because there wasn't really much, to do after playing football and playing in the streets and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So and I listened to it, and I see my man Albert. He one of the things too that Save 22, you have a lot of war veterans who come back, where they come back from service and they can't cope. Have you ever dealt with anybody from the military? Because I see they actually do a buddy. It's called a buddy check right there every 22nd day of the month.
And also you had a viewer, Christina, who had indicated that was a good idea to do the mental health or ask for the mental health assessment. So yes, and I really appreciate the comments, and this is a way for us to share information. But as far as military personnel, there are services through the VA, and PTSD is a real thing. And one of the things I posted, like I don't know if you all heard it in your neighborhoods, but it seemed like it was going on nationally. Bullets and like fireworks, and sometimes it sounded like a bomb was going off. But there are people who are severely impacted by those sounds because of their experiences in the military or otherwise. People who have experienced domestic violence, that these types of things can be triggers. And I just strongly encourage, families and friends of individuals who may show signs of mental illness, that they try to advocate on their friend or loved one's behalf, helping to make the calls to organizations, or, contacting the elected officials in the area to try to, in this prime example with all of the gunshots and fireworks that were going on since like March or the beginning of this year, to try to advocate on behalf of those people who may not know to speak up for themselves in regards to the stuff that's going on in the neighborhood.
I think, and I think that, and I know last time I saw you, Corey, we were talking, but I'm so learning that, one, we consider mental health as a taboo. And then the family that's impacted by it, it's more so the family that's embarrassed of that person that has that condition. So they kind of shun them. So yes. I think that we need to shake ourselves from being so caught up on what we see and how we're going to be perceived, and we need to tackle that thing.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's a duty upon us as the family member or friend to, not perpetuate the stereotypes and the stigma, but to help eradicate it, right? And so I have this, what I call a AAA approach, which is to accept, to acknowledge, and to advocate. So a part of it is just accepting that your loved one may have, and until such time, the person gets treatment or diagnosed, has a mental illness. We have to accept that. I had to learn to accept that. And I deal with it almost, it seems like just this Mother's Day, I really totally came to grips with, this is my life with my mother. She may never be what I expected for a mother. And we have to understand that. Anybody in our lives, we put these expectations on people, the shoulds on people of what we feel they should be as our mother, father, brother, husband, wife, but they are their individual person. And then when you're dealing with mental illness, you have to accept that person with that mental illness. They may never be able to do the things that you think they should do. And so that's where you come in as an advocate on behalf of that person to help navigate through this behavioral health care, knowing the resources that are available. When they're in crises, who do you call? We talked a little bit off camera about 911 versus now we have 988. The FCC just approved that number to be called for mental health services. And so you can call 988 in the National Suicide Prevention Line now. And there's just a lot of different resources that you can call in addition to calling the police, or if you do call like 911 and you believe it's a mental health crisis related situation, that you let them know that on that call so that dispatch can dispatch the appropriate people, communicate with the crisis intervention team, the mobile unit that goes out to different situations to de-escalate and to take a person to the hospital rather than to jail.
You said that's 988. What is that?
It's a number that you can call now for the National Suicide Prevention. So, instead of calling 911 and, it not maybe giving you the correct resource or dispatch that you need, now there is 988. And so this is a recent thing that just happened this month.
Love it. And I know I'm a big advocate. A lot of times we need people to go to a counselor, go to a therapist, not thinking that, oh, I'm crazy. Because, that's the stereotype that goes, you go to a counselor, you go to a psychiatrist, you're crazy. Yeah, I'm crazy for many things, but I encourage people to go see a psychiatrist, go talk to someone, because they're that neutral party that doesn't have an opinion. And right. You'll be amazed at how you feel. Now, like I tell them, the first 3 visits, you're going to sit there and not say nothing because you're like, I don't want these folks in my business. But I love my psychiatrist. I'll call her in a heartbeat. But I encourage people to go, because once you go for the first 3 times, on the 4th time, you're going to love it. And then you're going to be mad because your insurance only covers 7 visits.
So say, I see what I see.
You're trying to put that in your budget like it's a pair of shoes.
But there's even help with that as well, because, you know, a part of it is the cost and whether your insurance covers it. And so having the not having access to affordable health care could be an issue. But again, with this guide that I provided, there are different apps and services that are available at a sliding fee scale. And also, you know, people want a culturally competent counselor or therapist. Just because you go to one and it doesn't work out, you kind of have to do like a dating thing, you know, like making sure that this person, that you relate to him or her, and that you will be able to work with that person. And I say that from my own experience, because of a situation that occurred with my mother. I was then in the court system, the family court system, and I was placed into counseling, like a court order counseling situation. My mother had attacked me, and they felt like I should go to counseling to address that. I didn't like it one bit. So I did go to from what I recall, it was probably like 3 sessions. And I wasn't trying to get in touch with my feelings. I didn't want to connect with the situation or the experience whatsoever. But I tried counseling again when I was in law school, just to, you know, because it was overwhelming. You know, I was a new wife, a new mother, commuting in law school, and everything in my life, it just seemed like it was nonstop. So they had these services available for students, you know, that you could sign up for. And I just tried counseling again. Didn't like it. The third time was the charm, and I still see her today. The third time was the charm, and I truly appreciate her. She has really helped me to just widen my perspective, and it's called New Perspective, and it has given me a new perspective in so many aspects of my life, and also helped me to now help other people. Again, you talk about the taboo nature of mental health, and it's the stigma, it's the embarrassment, the shame that people associate with it. And you think about it, you could think about how characters are portrayed in movies like Soul Food. You remember Uncle Pete? He always stayed in the bedroom.
Right.
In the movie Fences with Denzel Washington, the movie that's based off of the play by August Wilson, The Brother, he came back from the military. Lamar, you talked about that. And there you could see the dynamic about a payeeship. That's when a family member or a friend or even an organization has control of that person's money. And then how that dynamic plays out when the person with the mental health issue wants control of their own money. But again, you know, if you have that family member that's wandering the streets, or anytime, you know, downtown, we can see individuals pushing a cart with all kind of stuff in it, or you might see somebody driving in a car with the car just full of stuff. They may be dealing with some type of mental health issue. And when we see it, it was like, I don't want to be associated with that. So if it's your family member or just in general, those are the types of visions that we tend to see. And I think it helps create this stigma that's associated, because you don't want to be connected to that situation, let alone it be a person that knows you, you know, like, oh, that's your cousin, or in my case, my mom. But I take, you know, if someone said, because I literally had somebody say that to me, you know, oh, your mom crazy, you know, and I said, you know, that is my mother and I love her. You don't just say no stuff like that about somebody you remember. But then you have other people that would, you know, be embarrassed and won't say anything and, you know, just shun away from the situation. And I think it's at that time where you need to speak up and help to address the issue, because we have to do better in our community. There's so many things, you know, in many of people's eyes, it's like another strike against us. You're already Black. And, you know, in my case, you're already a woman. And then to have a mental health issue or concern, that can just make a whole nother complexity to navigating through this life that we try to live each day.
Corey, I want to talk about your book. Tell us about this book.
Hold on. Listen, wait. We got to tell everybody, if you're watching, do us a favor, because again, sometimes the only way that this can actually get out, because I see people questions up, people are like, man, I didn't know. Hit the share button, please. Hit the share button, share. It only take you a second. Put it on your page. Sometimes we put stuff that is totally irrelevant, but this may help somebody. So hit the share button. Now keep going.
I just want to share with Victoria, she's talking about the 988 number and having a family member with autism. So yeah, call a 911, because You just want to work with organizations like NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, because there's a program with law enforcement where they're identifying areas with families in the area that may have a loved one with a mental illness, so that, again, when calls are made, that the correct individuals are going out on those calls to address the situation.
And I'm glad you said that, because my mother, she's suffering from a mental disorder. And I wish it was that simple.
Probably you.
And the other week, and I wanted to commend the officer, the other week, one of my mother's neighbors called the police on her. And when I pulled up to the house, this officer, he sat with my mother. We had a conversation, and he does such a phenomenal job working with the situation that had happened. And he even went over to the person that called, and he said, well, he explained what was going on, and they had a better understanding. So I was really appreciative of that, because a lot of times, like Victoria's comment said, when people call 911 on someone with a mental issue or mental disorder, immediately they're arrested, and then they're put in the back of the car as if they were in control of whatever that had happened at that moment. So I think that the Canton police, at my experience with that situation, they did a phenomenal job with how they handled my mother. So it wasn't you, so kudos to that.
And that's the thing too, because
the police department does have CIT trained officers, right, Lamar?
We do, and I'm actually one of them. How about that? How about that? But no, I went through. We went through classes with Carol Vesky, the late Carol Vesky. She's very amazing. I mean, I went to so many classes with her, and you're starting to see more officers that are going through that, and they're going through and they're recognizing that, okay, so when we get there and we assess the situation, okay, now what's the proper channels of who we need to call so that we can try to get them the best help we can get? Because you're right, arresting somebody who may have a mental disorder is not the answer. So we're trying to find a way, how can we get them on the right path to get help?
Right. And that's even in the schools, because the schools have the youth mobile crisis unit that they're able to call, but the resource officers or counselors or whoever is in the school should also have access and know the appropriate organizations to call in case a student is having a mental health crisis, So yes, all of those things are so important. And that's why we got to keep talking about it and sharing information. And my go-to is NAMI. I went through their family and friends support group. It was like a 12-week support group that was so educational and just helpful to talk to other people who have the same or similar lived experience with a loved one with severe mental illness. And I stress severe mental illness because, as I've continued to study, they have AMI, any mental illness, versus SMI, severe mental illness or serious mental illness. And that category could include bipolar or schizophrenia, where you're dealing with a person who has delusions and hallucinations, and left untreated, it can be dangerous, right? So through statistics like schizophrenia, it's described in thirds. 1/3 of individuals who experience schizophrenia may have one bout of symptoms and never have symptoms again. The second third of individuals, which I feel my mother is in this category, can have on and off again issues with being in and out of institutions, on and off of the medication. A common symptom and characteristic is that people get to a point where they feel they don't need the medicine anymore and stop taking it, and then there could be a decline in their mental health. Then you have the third set of individuals who experience schizophrenia, and those may be the individuals we see out on the street, homeless, untreated. They could die from the hands of someone else or ultimately from themselves. So it can be very dangerous situation, but again, it's important to understand and know the resources. In my situation, I was like 15 when my mother left me in Houston, Texas, and came back to Ohio. When I was 16 is when she attacked me. And then I was into the court system. But through all of that time, when my mom was first diagnosed, we didn't know what that meant. It was like, okay, here's a diagnosis, but what does this mean? And that's what kind of led me to want to learn more. I ended up getting my master's degree in guidance and counseling so I could learn more. And now that I'm established in my career, it has just become a part of my advocacy and to help other people.
Wow.
Love it.
Man.
Talk to me about your book.
#driven. It came out last year, 2019. I was 16 when I said I wanted to write a book, because by that time you know, I was going into Timken Senior High School, my 14th school, living in my 3rd state, and now my 8th household. And I just knew I had a story. I just didn't know what it was. But it became hashtag driven 30 years later. And I use this as a resource to help families and friends that have a loved one living with severe mental illness. So while it talks about a lot of other things, it really goes in on the mental health and all of the different experiences, and ultimately helping people to know where to go for help, to not be afraid, to not be ashamed of getting help for themselves as well as their loved one. And I share just tips, like I have 5, you know, and one of them, Lamar, is just knowing who the people are, like the treatment team individuals, whether it's the law enforcement officers who are CIT, crisis intervention team trained, or whatever the organization is called or training is called in your state or city, as well as keeping current contact information, because the behavioral healthcare system is a high turnover space and people aren't paid the best. They can have the most loving and caring heart and this be what they want to do. But if you can't like pay your living expenses, you may have to just go on, even though that's your passion. So just making sure you have current information for the people who directly help your loved one, and then the organizations in the area so that you can know who to call when there is a crisis. And what I learned is to not wait until you're in a crisis, because that's what I used to do. Only when there was like, we're in deep with my mom being at the almost the worst of worst is when I would reach out for help. Now I asked if we could just have like quarterly meetings just to touch base. It was more of a proactive and touch base type of thing versus a reactive, what, my God, what do we do type of thing.
Right. So, you know, one of the things too at our police department that we have, that we what we can call out, is we have mobile crisis response. So if we're out on a scene, like I said, they will come to wherever we're at and they will assess the situation. And the other thing too, realizing how big this is, how big mental health illness is. Like in my community involvement unit, we actually have an officer now assigned to he pulls up all of the mental health illness calls, and he goes through them and he does statistics, and he also tries to reach out and say, okay, how can we get this person help?
Yeah, that's absolutely awesome. And just to understand or get some perspective of where we are with mental health in this country, there's almost half of adults who experience mental health issues and concerns. Like 46.3% of adults will experience mental health issues in his or her life, right? And of those who get it, about 41, I say of who get it, but I'm just saying experience mental health issues and concerns, 41 to 43% of adults will seek treatment. But in the African American community, it's only like 30%. So we have to understand and know that in order for us to live our lives the best that we can, be productive, and be physically healthy, we have to be mentally healthy. These things go hand in hand. You can't necessarily have one without the other. So we need to make sure our minds are right, our physical bodies are right, and knowing where to go to get the help that we may need.
So, okay. So in light of everything going on, okay, so everything that's going on in the world, you know, we have everybody's protesting. The biggest thing now is for, defund the police. And for a lot of people that don't understand that, it's just saying, okay, let's take some of the money that we're giving to police departments and try to move it into other different areas. Mm-hmm. So, one of the biggest things too is that now people don't really understand. They're saying police officers should not respond to, calls with people with mental illness. And me being an officer for 20 years, that doesn't work. Mm-hmm. That doesn't work, because now you're sending somebody who may be trained, but here's the thing. We don't know what level that this person may be on. He can be on a level 1 to a million. Right? Mm-hmm. And you got this wide range. And if they're at a higher range, you're putting these workers in jeopardy of being hurt. What do you think, just about, as far as police officers responding to calls, even though they're trained, you get people out here that don't understand that?
Yes, I really appreciate this question. And in general, it's not a one fell swoop answer. This is something that has to be addressed specifically. So you can say defund the police, as you say, what does that mean? I do not suggest defunding the police in that regard, like just totally taking a portion of funds versus all the funds, whatever that may mean, because I feel that law enforcement is a critical part of the mental health crisis response team. Those who are trained. So you have a situation, if someone calls 911, an officer or officers are dispatched and they're not trained at all, so they're not going in with the mindset of this person may have a mental health issue or prepared to de-escalate the situation with that as a factor, then they may take other tactics that are not necessarily necessary for this person in the situation that he or she is in right at that time. So I strongly encourage, and I'm reading more and more about it, again, the crisis intervention team and how they have impacted positively impacted the outcomes of individuals who were experiencing a mental health crisis at the time. And in my mind, that's an ideal situation to have a trained officer or officers, in addition to social workers or case managers, behavioral health care workers who are going out on the scene. It seems to be a safer approach. It seems to be a more efficient approach, and ultimately a more understanding approach to be able to, again, take that person to the hospital rather than jail.
Okay.
That was deep.
That was real deep. that was really deep. So we got one question, and this is actually my daughter. My daughter, she's out in Vegas. So she said, what are some things that you could do during the quarantine to stay in your highest vibration?
Be in Vegas. No, I'm just kidding.
You're right. Exactly.
Really, I think this is like applicable to a question I get asked a lot in regards to self-care, right? And we can hear it. I mean, the self-care industry is now like $1 billion industry as far as things that are considered self-care, like going to the spa and whatnot. But what is it for you? What do you enjoy doing? I believe that this quarantine, while people have lost their jobs, a lot of negative things have happened. On another hand, it has given us more time with our family and friends for us to have self-reflection, to understand, how we're going to get through it and what we're going to do when we get out of this, right? This is time for planning. This is time for writing your book, the things that you want to do in life, but you haven't done because you've been so busy. The late Dr. Miles Monroe, he talks about having gifts. He said that the graveyard is like the richest place in the world because people die with their gifts. Our gifts are not for us to keep. Our gifts are for us to share with others, right? So if you know your passion, I really feel that is what gives you your gifts. What are you passionate about? And that will fuel you to tap into your gifts and share those gifts with others. And I truly appreciate you all having me on today, because I feel my passion is advocacy for mental health. It led to this book because, again, I was 16 when I said I wanted to write a book. I didn't know that it was going to be like mental health related and helping other people in that regard. But it has, and it has developed into me wanting to do it more and more, and to fill the space in regards to African-American community, because many of us don't openly talk about it. I commend everybody who does, who like Charlemagne the God and Shook One, and talking about anxiety and depression, and other people, even Tamar Braxton, we recently heard about her with the attempted suicide. Some people don't talk about that stuff, but when you talk about it, we understand and know that it's real. That's that acknowledgement piece that I talked about in the AAA strategy. Right? If we try to hide things and, just act like they don't happen and no, I ain't related to that person, how is that helping? We have to acknowledge, accept, and advocate in order to make this world better. Right? I say, we had a global pandemic plus global protests.
Right.
And for me, the equation, the equal sign leads to global change. At this very moment, while you're in quarantine, allow yourself to feel what you're feeling. Don't force yourself that you got to be on a high vibration, because you may not be. I'm going to take you back to this movie. It's a children's movie. It was a Disney movie about all the different emotions, happy, sad, and each character was a color. That's real life. You can't always be happy. You can't always be sad. Allow yourself, give yourself permission to feel what you're feeling, but you know you got to come out of it, right? So if you reach into a 2-week span and you still in the bed and haven't eaten or taken care of yourself physical hygiene wise, then you may need to, seek some outside therapy and treatment. But ultimately, we need to allow ourselves the permission to feel what we're feeling. We're bored, we're depressed, whatever the case may be, and reach out to loved ones, reach out to organizations that provide services to help you if you need help lifting up out of your depression or sadness or dark space.
Mm-hmm. And now, thinking about colors, I'm your dark space.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking about if colors was emotions, you were periwinkle.
No, I was.
Well, you had that blue one. There was a blue character on there, right? But again, you see how all the feelings work together. They create us as human beings. We're human, and we have feelings for a reason. But we just have to learn and understand how to process them. And sometimes through therapy, that's what helps to process them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, listen, I know everybody's seeing me in social media. I'm always out and about and I'm happy and I'm trying to, but there's moments where I feel like I isolate myself because I don't feel as happy. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like I need alone time.
Right.
And I kind of just put myself away and I go get my doggy and we just kind of hang out, and paint. Yeah. I find something, I find my vibration. You know what I'm saying?
I appreciate you sharing your frustration as well. You were out, I think, on like a little campfire at a fire pit and expressing your frustration for that day. People needed to see that because, again, we have different feelings, different emotions. We feel things, we see things and experience things as well. So we may be that chipper person that people are used to seeing, but there are other aspects of our emotional spectrum, if you will, that we should be allowed to express as well.
Absolutely. So, man, you got anything else?
I don't. We even went over.
I know we did. I'm sorry, but this was so good.
Oh,
so good. No, listen, it's all right. It's all right because here's the thing. Like I said, if you are watching, please share this because your share and tell somebody, put hashtag share it because somebody could use this. Put in there the hashtag National Minority Health Awareness Month as well, because I didn't know that. And I mean, that really can help somebody. Really help somebody.
World Mental Health Awareness Day, an organization that we're hearing about a lot now is WHO, the World Health Organization. But World Mental Health Day is October 10th. But I want to share this Saturday, there's a Minority Health and Wellness Fair that will be from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at 1221 Harrisburg Road, right here in Canton. And there's going to be COVID safety information, disinfecting procedures, nutrition and health tips, exercise instructors, and just a lot of giveaways. And I just strongly encourage people to please complete your census 2020, register to vote, be ready to vote. Your voice makes a difference. You are important in this world. So it's time for us to lift each other up to understand the impact that we're able to have in our communities by using our voices.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Corey.
So Corey, so for everybody's watching, how can they reach you? We have your email. Is that correct? Your email right down at the bottom. What social media platforms can they reach you at? Your website, all that stuff.
Yes, sure. My website is CoreyEmpowers.com, and I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and a lot of information that I share is centered on mental health. I believe it's just something that we need to talk about in our everyday lives and letting people know that the resources are available. So yes, hit me up. Share information when you see it because it's important for our community as a whole.
Absolutely. The thing I just like, Corey, she's awesome. You've come out, you talked to our girls before and our mentoring program.
Yes.
You're always out there and about. You're always trying to work for change and just love that about you. But I do have one problem. So besides, we do have a couple things in common, besides being mocha chocolate. But we're both authors, and I'm trying to figure out why I don't have a copy of this book.
I don't even have a copy.
I'll give you a copy of my book. Can we do the Jersey thing?
And,
Okay.
and the special treat when you see me in person, like Derek did, is that you get it signed and you get this nice little bookmark hashtag.
Ah, so he got one before me.
Quote.
Yes. Yes.
Like, you special.
I am. At what point of that won't you realize it?
Yes.
I can't do this. Well, listen, Corey, thank you.
Absolutely. And
we're gonna have-
Lamar, we go like back even further.
Yeah.
And we used to do the recruitment together.
Yeah.
That was just an important aspect to help our police and fire departments to be more inclusive and representative of our community. So again, thank you for being out there in them streets and helping to change the narrative in regards to the community and police relations, especially for our youth, is so important. My son at that time, he was like 4 or something, and he did the commercial for the police department. Mm-hmm. He said, I want to be a police officer. They help people. I want to help people too. And then unfortunately, we had these different things that have happened in our world, and that has totally changed his mind. So I just feel I appreciate what you're doing, because it can help our children to have a positive view of law enforcement, because we understand and know there are people who are doing things that they should not do, but there are those who are doing what they're supposed to do. And that's what we want from everyone in every aspect, in corporate world, in the church, in the police departments, the fire departments. Do what you're supposed to do. Treat people equally. It doesn't mean that we don't want people arrested. There were deaths just this last night, and we want justice for those families, and condolences to the family. We want justice for those families, and that's what we're saying when it is law enforcement, that they have to have some kind of consequence as well. Right. So, hey, I would like justice for Breonna Taylor. I want to say that too, and every other Black woman who is still not received justice for her death, Sandra Bland and others. And I thank you all for having me on tonight. Please go to my social media, and I want to share a quote with you all that I share with everyone. And that is, don't allow undesirable circumstances to be excuses for you to fail, but allow them to be reasons for you to excel. So keep excelling, Lamar and Derek.
Thank you, darling.
He holds me down like an anchor.
Because he has such a big ego.
Well, thank you, Corey, and we're gonna link up, and I'm gonna get that book. Okay.
All
right. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
That was awesome.
That was a really good show. It was.
Yeah.
I hate that.
I'm glad you showed up today too.
Well, you hear it. It's just draining.
Listen, I should have took your temperature. I should have took your temperature before you came in here.
You should have. But I didn't want to call and tell you I was sick, because then you probably would have went crazy. So, guys, our trivia question for today.
Hold on. I gotta move quicker.
Yeah, you do. Because I know we're like.
So you gotta tell them how they gotta do this stuff.
So the first one to type the answer in the comments, they'll get a hug from me. Yeah.
Oh, I'm not putting the right answer in there. Delete. So, I'm leaving the show.
The trivia question today is, what is Michael Jackson's full name?
Mm-hmm.
What is Michael Jackson's full name?
Absolutely. You know what? We didn't even have a sponsor today. Nobody wanted to sponsor us. That's all right, though, because guess what? We got something brewing. And then there were some people gonna be like, no, come on, sponsor us, because some of the things that we do.
He's in a dark place. You guys see?
I'm in a dark place right now. I'm in a dark place. I don't feel good.
See, you don't feel good.
I don't know.
And I'm sober today, which is like good. So I'm excited about that.
Oh my goodness. All right, so we're still waiting on that.
And don't Google. Everybody should.
Yeah, everybody trying to Google. I tell you, man, they left the show, Googled it, and they came back to the show. Mm-hmm. You know we can see that, right?
Got it.
Christina Spencer. Christina, we know you left the show and came back with the right answer. Come on, tell the truth. Tell the truth.
So, Christina, if you can send Lamar your details, I'll send you out a gift card to Starbucks.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah, I'll send you a Starbucks gift card.
That's it. So, man, what's going on this week?
Oh,
is there
I
anything
have a
on?
party to go to.
You have a party to go to every week,
So you know I'm a socialite.
and
Okay,
every
so-
week you don't invite me.
So here's the thing. I'm a socialite, and COVID-19 has totally ruined my calendar. I was supposed to be in Spain in May. We were supposed to go to Jamaica in August. So now all my activities and everything that I'm accustomed to doing,
Right.
and I'm not saving money.
Well, but you go on all these different socialites, and I haven't been invited one time.
You're not ready. Like you said,
I
you're
can't
tired
stand
and you
that.
like to be by yourself.
I'm glad you got shoes on with
I
no
know,
sandals
because
on.
so what happened was, oh, what's that?
What is that?
So what happened was, I'm gonna let
He
you
done
guys
walked
know.
the COVID right up in my.
The other weekend, I had on my favorite flip flops, and I went to a pool party, or an engagement party, and someone was there that I hadn't seen in a while. They were standing by the pool. If you saw that, what would you do?
I don't know.
You would push them in the pool. So I pushed them in the pool unexpectedly, and they jumped out the pool and chased me. I had to come out of my flip flops and run for my life. And I locked myself in the car. So that's why I keep somebody sponsoring me to get a pair of flip flops.
Man. Oh my goodness.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Yeah, listen. Corey is awesome. If you haven't followed her on social media, you know, she's a very powerful woman, always has something positive to say. You know, just make sure you follow her. If you have any questions, email her. We left her email on there as well. cmscoreyempowers.com. Again, if you share this, you know, if you watch this, took the time to watch it, it take you, look at this, not even a second to share that, just so other people can get out and see and hear that somebody may be watching this. I know that Derek, he usually watches most of his social media when he's locked in a bathroom on the toilet. So he's in there for a while. So,
I don't have,
you know, that might be helping somebody. So
he's a terrible person. Okay, you guys log off because I don't want you guys to see me.
Hey, listen, thanks a lot. I appreciate y'all. Come back next week. We have another guest in. Y'all take care.